We are back. Sorry about no video yesterday. There was a little bit of miscommunication, but the Phillies did pick up a victory Saturday night against the Washington Nationals in game 2 of that 3-game series at home at Citizens Bank Park, thanks to a very solid outing by the veteran Aaron Nola in his second start back from the injured list. A much needed start like that for Aaron Nola, who struggled before he landed in the IL, struggled in his first start back from the IL, and then obviously with the Zach Wheeler news, him being out for the season and the playoffs, the Phillies need their starting rotation to step up now more than ever, and that really starts with the veteran of the rotation, Aaron Nola, and he did just that Saturday, helped the Phillies get the victory, and he has something to build on moving forward. The Phillies also picked up the series finale win, 3-2 on Sunday afternoon with Ranger Suarez on the mound. Another pitching gem by a Phillies starter, another pitching gem by Ranger Suarez himself. So, after losing that first game of the 3-game series to the Nationals, a tough loss at that when Joan Duran blew that save Friday night, the Phillies won the next 2 games, got another series victory, and they are heading into this series starting tonight in New York, in Queens, against the New York Mets, and another NL East battle for, not for first place, but the top 2 teams in the National League East face off at the Mets home ballpark in this 3-game series starting tonight. Christopher Sanchez, arguably the Phillies' best pitcher right now, especially with Zach Wheeler on the IL and out for the year, is on the mound to begin this 3-game road series. Welcome into Phillies Daily, everybody. I'm your host, Mike Henley. Make sure you guys subscribe for more Phillies content right here on Phillies Daily. I mentioned Ranger Suarez pitched another gem for the Phillies Sunday afternoon in that series finale win over the Nationals. Ranger Suarez threw 7 shutout innings on Sunday afternoon in that 3-2 victory. Obviously, he did not allow those 2 runs. 7 shutout innings. He allowed just 3 hits, no walks. Always great when a pitcher doesn't allow a walk. And Ranger Suarez, just the 3 hits, no walks, and he picked up the victory. And he also recorded a career-high 11 strikeouts in those 7 shutout innings. Great stuff out of Ranger Suarez. A career day for him. He picks up the win. The Phillies pick up the win. Another series win for the team. And Ranger Suarez put together 2 very good starts in a row now. He had a little bit of some struggles there right before these past 2 starts, but he is looking really good now in his last 2 outings, and it's great to see, again, especially with Zach Wheeler no longer in the starting rotation with that injury. All these guys need to step up the rest of this regular season and into October, into the playoffs, if they want any shot at winning a World Series championship here in 2025. Now, an unlikely hero yesterday in that 3-2 victory over the Nationals was backup catcher Rafael Marchán. Now, Marchán, we all know, doesn't get much playing time because JT Realmuto is an absolute workhorse behind the plate. Plays pretty much every single day. Marchán really gets little to no opportunities this entire season. He did win the backup job over Garrett Stubbs, the veteran. Obviously a lot younger than Garrett Stubbs, a lot more potential than Garrett Stubbs, both offensively and defensively, but just doesn't really get those opportunities. However, he was a large reason why they got that 3-2 victory yesterday over the Nationals. He was responsible for all 3 runs the Phillies scored in that 3-2 win. He had a 2 RBI double in the second inning, gave the Phillies an early 2-0 lead there in that second inning, and then he also drew a walk with the bases loaded in the very next inning, in the third inning. Obviously, a run scored because the bases were loaded. He took first base. The Phillies took an early 3-0 lead. Rafael Marchán, all 3 RBIs, responsible for all 3 runs in that 3-2 win. As I said, doesn't get much playing time, but it is nice to see him have some success with that RBI double, 2 RBI double, that RBI walk offensively at the plate. We all know he's a pretty good defensive catcher as well. So when he does get his opportunities, it's always good to see him come through on moments like that. Again, doesn't have to happen often because he just really doesn't get that much playing time. And when he does, it's hard to get into a groove when you're not playing every day or getting consistent at-bats at least. And he's not even doing that just because Realmuto plays so much. Now, obviously, he could be the starting catcher next year in 2026. JT Realmuto isn't a contract year. He's an impending free agent coming up here in just a few months. He's older now. He'll be 30. He's 34, I believe, right now. He'll be 35 in March next year, JT Realmuto. So that's a huge decision for the Phillies to make, whether they invest in an aging catcher who, before he got really hot these last couple months, started the season pretty slow, and it looked like he was starting to decline, especially offensively. But we'll see what happens. Right now, we're worried about trying to win a World Series championship. The future is the future, but Rafael Marchand could be the future at the catching position if Realmuto walks in free agency. Now, the game didn't end in an easy way. As much as we would all like these Phillies games to just end easy, no stress, no adrenaline in a bad way, the Phillies bullpen obviously has not been a strength all year in 2025, and yesterday proved that yet again. Obviously, Ranger Suarez had that 3-0 lead, those 7 shutout innings, those career high 11 strikeouts in a start, but the bullpen obviously made it interesting in relief of Ranger Suarez. First, Jose Alvarado, who's just recently came back from serving that 80-game suspension. Obviously, he's ineligible for the playoffs, but he is allowed to be used for the rest of the regular season here. He came in to start that 8th inning after Ranger Suarez was lifted after 7 innings, and Alvarado allowed a leadoff single and then 2 consecutive walks to load the bases there in the 8th inning. No outs. Rob Thompson, the Phillies manager, decided to pull Alvarado in that moment from the game in just a 3-0 lead there for the Phillies, replaced by Tanner Banks, who has been an incredible reliever for the Phillies, not only this year in 2025, but also last year in the second half of the season after he was acquired in that midseason trade from the Chicago White Sox. He's really been the unsung hero of the Phillies bullpen. I talked about him in a video about that recently as well. If you haven't really been paying attention to the Phillies season or Tanner Banks, he has been just lights out really all year long for the Phillies in 2025. But he came in with those bases loaded, no outs in relief of Jose Alvarado there in the 8th inning, 3-0 Phillies lead. He did allow 1 run. That 1 run obviously charged to Jose Alvarado's line because he allowed the base run as the bases loaded. And that 1 run came off of a double play. So he got 2 outs off of the play, 1 run scored, 3-1 Phillies lead. And then he did get out of the inning there without allowing any more damage. So great stuff by Tanner Banks coming in a tough situation late in the ballgame with just a 3-0 lead and getting out of it just with that 1 run scored. Obviously still charged to Jose Alvarado's line. And then in the 9th inning, Joan Duran did not come in for the save situation because he did pitch the 2 consecutive days prior. Obviously blew that save Friday night, came back Saturday, picked up the save the very next day after blowing it Friday night, which is great to see. But he was not available for Sunday's ballgame in that save situation. So the Phillies brought in Orion Kirkring, who they have used in save situations, obviously before Duran was acquired at the trade deadline this year by the Minnesota Twins, or from the Minnesota Twins. Kirkring, he's been one of the Phillies' better relievers here, but he's also had some struggles here and there as well, especially as of late. And yesterday, in that 3-2 victory, he made it very, very interesting with that 3-1 lead going into the 9th inning. He came in, he did get the first out, but then he allowed a solo home run to make it a 3-2 ball game there with just the 1 out in the 9th inning. The Phillies obviously had the lead still, and then luckily and thankfully, Orion Kirkring did record the final 2 outs after allowing that solo home run to cut the deficit to 1 via the ground out. So he picks up a save, and great to see. Phillies got another series win, came back with those 2 final wins of that 3-game series against the Nationals, bouncing back after that tough loss Friday night. Now moving forward to today, Monday, I did mention the Phillies are heading to New York to take on the New York Mets at Citi Field for these next 3 games. It's an NL East clash. Obviously, the Phillies are the better team at the moment. It wasn't long ago, though, that the Mets even had a lead in the NL East over the Phillies. They were playing good baseball, but they have not been good as of late. The Phillies have a 7-game lead over the Mets for first place in the National League East heading into this 3-game series Monday night with Christopher Sanchez on the mound. The Mets have been spiraling as of late, as I said, especially in this second half of the season after the All-Star break. Since July 28th, the Mets are just 7-17. They're 5-5 in their last 10 games, and they're coming off of a loss yesterday, Sunday, to the Atlanta Braves, whereas the Phillies, since that same time on July 28th, they are 16-9. They're 7-3 in their last 10 ball games, and now they are obviously coming off a 2-game winning streak over the Washington Nationals there, Saturday and Sunday. The Phillies and the Mets will face one more time after this 3-game series in a 4-game series at Citizens Bank Park from September 8th to the 11th. But right now, with this 7-game lead and the Mets really not playing great baseball, the Phillies playing better baseball than them, is a great time to kind of just start to run away with the division and take a stranglehold on first place of the NL East, looking for the Phillies' second consecutive National League East division title. They obviously won it last year. Didn't work out for them too well in the playoffs, getting bounced by the New York Mets in the NLDS. But hopefully this year is different, and the Phillies can really create some separation here in this 3-game series over the Mets with at least another series victory, at least taking 2 out of 3, maybe even a sweep. But you don't want to see them get swept or lose this series. We'll see what happens. Obviously, the Phillies have a very good pitcher on the mound tonight in Christopher Sanchez to start off this 3-game series. Hopefully, we're talking about a Phillies win tomorrow. Hopefully, we're talking about Christopher Sanchez throwing another gem. And hopefully, we're talking about the offense still hitting well and coming up clutch in clutch situations. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you guys like, comment, share, and subscribe for more Phillies content right here on Phillies Daily from your host, Mike Hennelly. Again, thank you guys for watching, and as always, go Phils.